Good Friday morning, everyone. I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Rochelle Peart. Here's a tropical update on Hurricane Dorian and another system we might have to watch in the Atlantic, a little bit closer to the West African coast. 5 a.m. advisory on Hurricane Dorian, 260 miles east-northeast of the southeastern Bahamas. Sustained winds have not changed from the 11 p.m. update last night, still at 105 miles per hour. Sustained winds gusting higher than that. Movement at 12 miles per hour to the northwest, and that pressure 979 millibars. So here's Hurricane Dorian. Again, still a Category 2 storm. Those gusts up to 125 miles per hour. As we move into the weekend and into Sunday especially, we are going to see it strengthen into a Category 4 storm. We're anticipating it to become that major hurricane status as we move into the later parts of today, Friday, August 30th. So it's going to stick with those Category 3 or above winds into the weekend. You're also noticing here this red shaded area. That's the Bahamas. They issued with that 5 a.m. advisory a hurricane watch, which means we are going to see those hurricane force winds moving into the northern Bahamas within the next 48 hours or so from that 5 a.m. advisory. As we continue this off to the north and west, we stick with the Category 4 winds. Does look like it might weaken just a bit as it gets closer to the Florida coastline from off of the Bahamas, down to 130 miles per hour from 140 miles per hour, potentially max winds. And then it does curve up the spine of Florida up towards parts of northeastern Florida. So we will have to watch to see exactly where it does make landfall, because don't pay attention to the exact location of where this icon is. It could be anywhere in the cone. That's why we call it the cone of uncertainty. We're following what the different model outputs are putting out for the track of Dorian and then putting the most likely area where the center of that storm could land. And remember, the center of the storm is actually calm. The eye wall is where we see some of the strongest winds, but then that storm does extend for hundreds of miles outside of the eye and the eye wall as well. So the impacts will be felt well far away from where that middle of the storm makes landfall in the Bahamas and also in Florida. Again, hurricane watch was issued for the northeastern Bahamas. That was issued with that 5 a.m. advisory. Nothing issued as of yet for parts of Florida, so we will continue to watch to see if they issue those either later on today or during the day on Saturday. So again, just hurricane watch is in effect for the next 48 hours. Tropical satellites showing Dorian swirling to the northeast of the Turks and Caicos Island and east of the Bahamas, but a pretty well-sized storm out there. So again, we are going to feel those impacts well away from the center of that hurricane. Did want to talk about sea surface temperatures here. So now we're looking at anywhere with those sea surface temperatures in the 80s. Those darker colors indicate mid to upper 80s, 85, 86 degrees. So this is prime development and strengthening conditions for Dorian as we move through the rest of your Friday. Again, anticipating this to become a Category 3 storm by the end of the day on Friday. Zooming out, do want to talk about the tropical setup just a little bit. We've been talking about this steering pattern. We have high pressure over the ocean. With that, we get that clockwise flow. That's going to help Dorian continue to push off to the north and west. And when we have those hurricanes, tropical systems, those are areas of low pressure. So it's going to be steering Dorian as it moves back to the northwest toward the Bahamas, also toward Florida. And we do have another area of some high pressure over the mainland United States, over Conus, and that's going to help to keep Dorian from moving too far off to the west. And so those models, again, bringing it up as we move through Florida and potentially off the southeastern seaboard as well. So let's talk about the Atlantic hurricane names. We've had 5 of them now. Aaron was a tropical storm, and then Dorian, Category 2 storm at this point, but anticipating it to continue to strengthen. So I do want to talk about another system that is off of the western Africa coast, but this has a 20% chance of developing into our next named storm, Ferdinand, within the next 5 days. 0% chance of developing within the next 2 days. So we're going to watch this, but we're definitely keeping a much closer eye to the more imminent threat of Dorian for the Bahamas and for Florida. So Atlantic hurricane season, we are right now nearing that peak season, which is going to be in September. September 10th is the climatological peak of hurricane season, and the percentage of named storms that we get during the month of September, 34%, well higher than August and also much higher than October. And this is the percentage of named storms that we get during the months of hurricane season. So Dorian, still no imminent threat to land as of Friday morning, but we are watching the potential for not just the hurricane force winds, but storm surge for the Bahamas and for Florida as we move into the weekend and also into the Labor Day holiday as well, and also potentially compounding that with a king tide for the eastern Florida coastline. So we are going to deal with storm surge, the king tide, so higher than normal tides on top of that. So that's pushing the water into areas that it isn't usually located in the regions that Dorian could be impacting. So if you have any questions about the tropics, I've been tweeting and Facebooking all morning and posting Instagram updates as well. So you can find me on social media. Search my name, Rochelle Pearton. You can also search Rochelle TV across all platforms.